Not many things are better the smaller they get. Mortgages? Certainly. Golf scores? Sure. Kidney stones? Okay, yes. But video games? That's more of a grey area. For the Crew Motorfest, developer Ivory Tower has chosen to give its chunky interpretation of the entire continental USA the chop, in favour of something far more concise, a scaled-down riff of the single island of Oahu, Hawaii. The result is better in some ways and worse in others, but overall it's actually an experience that sometimes feels like it's trying harder to emulate Forza Horizon than its own predecessors. I can't say I blame them, considering how much I love Horizon 5, and they've done a good enough job at it that I've had many great moments in Motorfest over the past several days. It has the best handling in the series so far, and it does boast some incredibly strong lighting. However, while Motorfest is a mostly earnest romp for car lovers in a vibrant tropical paradise, it definitely loses some momentum due to its confusingly dead world and slightly uneven campaign, and its omnipresent baked-in microtransactions are a constant bugbear. After its handbrake turn from an illegal underground street racer in the 2014 original to the sanctioned motorsport TV show format of The Crew 2 in 2018, The Crew Motorfest has peeled away in yet another new direction. That is, it's now based around a bustling summer car culture festival. Let's admit it's not exactly original though. The Forza Horizon series has had this patch accounted for since 2012. However, it really does get off to a very positive start with a confident and well-curated prologue segment that gives us an effective taste of Motorfest's varied racing action.
Riding the full roster of these legends was a rare privilege.
And, immediately after that, the freedom to head out into Oahu to tackle the large pile of events in essentially whatever order we choose. Admittedly, Motorfest has far less real estate to race on than The Crew or The Crew 2. You can drive all the way around the island in a little over 15 minutes. In The Crew 2, it takes around 40 to 60 minutes to drive from one side of the map to the other. However, the narrower focus has resulted in a map that's far more handsome and densely detailed, and while it lacks the same ambitious scope, it doesn't seem to be plagued by nonsensical procedurally generated storefronts selling chicken grilled coffee. I do miss the sheer variety of vistas and landmarks of The Crew 2, but there are moments, particularly during sunsets, where it looks quite exceptional, although there are also times where low flying reveals some pretty egregious vegetation and shadow pop in. It's at its worst hedge hopping over the center of the island. Overall, the map is a little dead though. There are no people on the streets and traffic is extremely light. Motorfest tries to add zest by tossing in AI races that spawn in suddenly and dart through the streets around us, but it actually just makes the free roam driving occasionally frustrating. Traffic cars can be collided with, but AI cars and other races can be ghosted through. Unfortunately, it's not always instantly clear which is which at 400 kilometers per hour. Motorfest does have a better approach to trackside smashables than The Crew 2 though, and far fewer of them will completely stop us dead. Motorfest splits its campaign into a series of themed playlists, each drilling down on either a particular car type, driving style, or other aspect of auto culture. For instance, one playlist focuses on Japanese custom shop Liberty Walk. The voiceover work here is a little stern, but it's a cool and occasionally educational showcase of some heavily customized cars.
I can fix a couple of scratches, but ruin the car and you'll be dealing with the Motorfest PR.
Another highlights the history of the 911, which is a clever way to make use of several generations of the iconic Porsche that Motorfest has at its disposal. My favourite so far is definitely the Donut Media playlist, which is mostly a series of fun showdowns between famous rival vehicles. Known for their automotive apparel and YouTube content, Donut has already had a couple of collaborations with Forza Horizon 5 prior to its appearance in Motorfest, but the addition of hosted vignettes before each race here injects a little more of Donut's madcap approach to motoring, and I actually found their Motorfest appearance the more entertaining of the two.
Who's got the biggest American muscles? Spoiler, it's me.
Not every playlist has landed for me though. For instance, I'm quite disappointed in the drifting playlist. The first few events are passable, although I don't love that they're hosted on huge and unrealistic raised structures, including one that coils into the sky like a giant spring. The next few actually resemble real-world drifting on twisting mountain roads, but then it just loses the plot completely and throws us into several traditional races. The pretext is that you're supposed to discover whether a drift car can beat street cars in a conventional street race, but the upshot is we're driving to be as quick as possible and not to look as cool as possible. It's essentially the opposite of drifting. Why these events constitute the whole crescendo of the drifting playlist is anyone's guess. I'm also doubly disappointed that Motorfest's boat and plane events have been lumped together into a single playlist that largely feels like an afterthought. Like the Crew 2 before it, the water effects in Motorfest are genuinely great, and racing through huge swells is chaotic fun.
I mean, look at these waves.
But there are far fewer boat events in Motorfest than there are in the Crew 2. Aircraft events are, again, mundane races against the clock, and the planes are still woefully slow. Motorfest adds a Grumman F8F Bearcat to its hangar, literally one of the fastest piston engine aircraft of its era, but it's barely capable of a third of its real top speed in Motorfest.
Hold on to your seat, it's time to gain altitude.
Thanks to this, flying feels mostly dull, and it's not helped by the fact that the default flight model is absolutely awful. For reference, there's an aircraft handling assist that automatically locks some of the flight axes, but the flying feels infinitely better with it toggled off. I'd also recommend using the chase camera that rolls with the wings, not the one locked to the horizon. I can anticipate some resistance to Motorfest's strict focus on its playlist approach, and I will concede it does seem odd to have us agonize over choosing a free starter car that basically functions as a taxi to take us to events we'll complete in preordained loaner cars. In fact, our personal cars are mostly irrelevant until a playlist is complete, at which point we can redo races in the cars of our choice. I don't really mind this format, I just can't really bear the constant babble of Motorfest's so-called AI assistant anymore. She certainly mispronounces a lot of words.
For a long time, drifting was illegal in Japan, the drift country of origin. The discipline has come a long way since then. It's
Discipline? Are we just saying typos out loud now?
so much so that one of their 3 pillars is entirely focused on this credo.
I'm a little exhausted with the fact that effective fast travel is locked behind the completion of 10 playlists. I'm also cynical about why some playlists can be completed without owning any prerequisite vehicles, and some require arbitrary and expensive in-game purchases. It's especially galling when, even after you buy a required vehicle, Motorfest literally loans you another one to complete the event in anyway. As with the Crew and the Crew 2, Motorfest is still pretty stingy when it comes to payouts, and it's endlessly tedious how Motorfest's virtual currency is only ever a button press away. You could spend a lot of money instantly unlocking all of the vehicles in Motorfest. Ivory Tower quotes a figure of 600 plus, but in reality that's a blatant exaggeration. Yes, there are plenty of genuinely great cars here, but the final figure is bolstered significantly by counting multiple versions of the same car simply because it has some stickers spackled on it and a fancy nickname. For instance, there seem to be over half a dozen R34s here, and right now, 0 R32s or R33s. We have 13 Mitsubishis! Do you though? A quarter of them are the same car! This is how Hot Wheels sells duplicates to my son year after year. I thought you already had a little truck shaped like a toilet. Yeah, but this one's gold! That said, the vehicles are highly detailed, except for the Vaseline-smeared and completely functionless mirrors, and they generally look and sound great. More importantly, I find the cars feel noticeably better in Motorfest than they did in the Crew 2. Put simply, there's a much improved sense of weight and grip, especially when flicking a car quickly from side to side to break the rear end loose. The cars come alive in corners with traction control off, but I dislike how having the driving aids off appears to be a decent advantage for our AI opponents, who seem to get a perfect launch at the start of every race. I eventually relented and opted for some mild TCS to try to level the playing field. If you want my advice, turn on the driving aids when racing online too. Trying to keep up with other human players in the island-spanning grand races in Motorfest's most mental hypercars simply isn't worth the effort without some traction assistance. That said, I doubt I'll get much mileage out of the multiplayer, as even getting a race has been taking as long as the events themselves. Sitting in a lobby for 10 minutes waiting for at least 14 people to show up isn't fun. Why can't we register for a grand race and continue to drive around until enough players are on board to trigger it? Multiplayer isn't the only thing I've bounced off in Motorfest either. I've never liked the crew's loot-based upgrade system, and I never will. And grinding for legendary gold parts isn't on my agenda, and nor is buying them outright for real-world money. I don't know about some of these customization options either. Am I too old? I think I'm too old. It's said that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Lego has Mega Blocks, ET has Mac and Me. Now, Forza Horizon has the Crew Motorfest. To be fair, Motorfest is a robust racer with a confident sense of style, a quality arcade handling model, and a long list of generally well-planned events right out of the box. However, the shift to a smaller map has seen it lose a part of its old identity. Boats and aircraft feel like they've been sidelined, and some of its event playlists work a lot better than others. Ultimately, the Crew Motorfest is a little more ice ice baby and a little less under pressure. It's a catchy enough copy, but it ain't exactly back with a brand new invention. For more automobile action, check out our first hands-on with Forza Motorsport, as well as the first glimpse of EA Sports WRC. For everything else, keep it locked tightly to IGN, daily and nightly.